And with me today is Rina Gressett, one of my students. Rina has been helping pets for a lot of years, and she is a devoted pet sitter living in sunny San Diego, California, and proud dog mom to Coco and Muffin, who are two senior poodle mixes. So we're here to chat about Rina's experience and answer your questions if you've got them. So if you've got some questions, pop that in. Let us know where you are watching from, and we'll go from there. But Rina, thanks so much for taking time to join us today. And so glad you could jump in and add some words of wisdom, especially with working with rescue groups and how you can help dogs that are in rescue. So tell us a little bit, Jolene, good to see you from San Diego. Jenny, Jose, great to see you in here as well. But tell us a little bit about how you got started in working with pets in rescue, because that's a lot of heart.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited. And it probably started, I think, around 2012, 11, somewhere. I started fostering a dog. And my cousin was into fostering, and I just saw how important it was. And I thought, I need to do this. And it just went from fostering one dog to another. And as my education and knowledge was increasing, I could see all the things that I was doing and giving them supplement-wise and good food-wise that was really helping. And to just watch them go from being so broken and neglected and a hot mess to being a happy and healthier dog.
Cool. That's amazing. And Brian's asking if that was Snow. So
no, the first dog I fostered was Rita.
There you go. So you just kind of took off from there, and then is that part of why you ended up wanting to join the coaching program to help amplify your knowledge for these guys that you were trying to support better in the rescue organizations?
Yes, and I had my own dogs as well, and mostly seniors. I love the seniors, and I've always been talking to friends about their pets and their needs and their dietary, are they eating healthy and that kind of thing. And it just kind of rolled into it. I worked at Dexter Deli, which is a healthy pet food store in San Diego, and it really expanded my knowledge. And I used to work at a hospital as well, in an admin. And I used to get in trouble for talking to people about their pets instead of doing the job I was supposed to be doing. So when I saw your course come along, I thought you wrote it for me. I knew I had to do this.
That's awesome. That's very amazing. And you're getting close to finishing the program. I just dropped your website in. It's great. It explains a lot. You've also got a group put together on Facebook for folks that are needing some help. And actually, that's amazing, because that's such a great way to offer people help, is to be able to interact with them, answer questions on Facebook, all those good things. So right on with that. What do you think is kind of the most important thing that most people should know when they're working with senior pets, if they're not experienced?
Well, that's a question. Patience. You can teach an old dog new tricks. You can get them healthy. You can get them back. You can do things to extend their life, make them comfortable. There are things we can do. People just think my dog's getting old, but there are things we can do to diminish some of that.
Right on. I mean, because that's it with aging in general. We can have a chronological age of say 60 and either act 80 or act 40. So it just depends on what you do in your life and the sort of your inputs, if you will. And I think it's exactly the same with dogs and cats as well. If we've had dogs that, I mean, that's been my experience. If we've got a dog that's been fed an extremely pro-inflammatory diet, it's been a couch potato all of its life, and we are able to start feeding that dog less inflammatory foods, get it moving very slowly so we don't overwork the dog, we can see that dog start to act years younger. And
Mhm.
so that, I think, is truly it. We can believe in that number is the absolute truth about how that pet or that person will feel. But I think we're really missing the boat if we do that.
Yeah, even with my own pets, Muffin is 15 and a half, and she's in stage 2 kidney disease, but we're doing things to keep her in stage 2 as long as we
Right on.
she's vision impaired, hearing impaired, arthritis, but I should video her when she wakes up or she comes in from a walk. She literally bounces like a bunny. And Coco is 14, and she still goes for walks and hikes. She gets excited, she runs, she goes up and down the stairs, and we'll have dogs on the street on our walks, and people are like, "Oh, is she a puppy? She's 7? Oh, she's 14." And
Yeah.
people just can't believe it.
Yeah.
And then they tell me is like 11 or 12, and the dog looks like it needs a cane.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, that's absolutely it. And Brian's asking, can a diet and food change existing health problems? Um, and yeah, absolutely, Brian. I mean, you've seen Rita, can you talk about a situation, a dog you worked with where you just made a few simple changes and saw some pretty dramatic effects?
Oh, multiple. Uh, yeah, I mean, I had a dog with congestive heart failure. I had a dog with kidney disease. I've had a dog with liver disorder. And, most of those dogs had a diagnosis of maybe 6 months. And with the right food, diet, supplements, other modalities, acupuncture, some other stuff, um, I had most of them onwards of 2 years.
That's yeah, that's it. And that's kind of the thing. It's like this thing that would be miraculous for a lot of folks we've kind of gotten used to as being normal, right?
Right.
Make a few changes and boom, there's a big shift in how that dog behaves and the cats too as well. So you're working currently, are you still working with a holistic pet food store? Or are you just doing pet sitting now? What's your and
Yeah,
getting ready to
during
focus
the
on
pandemic
coaching more?
yeah, during the pandemic, they let me go, and I just picked up pet sitting. I've kind of been doing that since 2016, but I started doing it more full time, and I decided I didn't want to go back to the store. So I'm pet sitting full time in other people's homes and taking care of their doggies, and I'm loving it. And I do I'm starting to miss being home. It's been 2 years of full-time pet sitting. So I'd like to be home a little bit more and start doing some more of the health coaching. And I can do both. I can do the health coaching while I'm
Exactly, and that's the deal. And as a pet sitter, you probably see changes more clearly than the pet parent at times. Is that a fair statement?
yes. And I have to say it can be times to be a pet sit and the pet parent is just like, here, this overweight bowl. He may or may not eat it. Just I was like, oh, you poor dog. And the biggest one that parents will tell you is he's not much of an eater. He'll kind of graze all day. First thing I do is some warm water in the bowl and cut up a couple of vegetables that I steamed and maybe a sprinkle of Parmesan cheese, dog and the bowl. I was like, it's so simple. Your dog is not a picky eater. He doesn't like what you're feeding.
Yeah. And I think maybe your the audio is a little bit choppy on your end. Maybe, I don't know, maybe your earbuds are a little wonky or something. But yeah, I mean, basically what Rena was saying is that she'll start doing very simple things for dogs that are picky eaters and add some water, add some vegetables, and all of a sudden the dog is cleaning the bowl out. So the problem isn't so much that they're a picky eater, it's just that they don't like what they're being offered. And I get it. I mean, you know, try to feed an 11-year-old rutabagas all the time. That's just not going to happen. So that's pretty amazing stuff. But that's a lot of what we talk about too in the course is how to feed fresh food. And many of my colleagues are, you know, all raw all the time. But what I would argue is that it's a little bit easier, especially for older pets whose digestive capacity may not be so great, is to feed a really well cooked diet because it's so easy to digest and really pretty well assimilated. So I'm glad to hear you're seeing that bear out. And I think that's sort of what you were starting to see even before you were taking the course, is that the cold raw diets just were not working for some of these older guys.
Yeah. And at the healthy pet food store that I worked at, raw was the big thing. But I was always telling the people who came in, like, tell me about your dog. You know, does he have certain digestive issues? Is he older, younger? Does he run warm or cold? You know, so it's great. It's just not for every dog. And like you said, especially the seniors, it's harder for them to digest something a little.
Yeah, exactly. And it's tough. So one of the part of what the other part of things that we work on in the course is learning how to add in alternatives as far as supporting kidney disease, supporting cancer, things like that. So what kind of success have you had with using those options?
I'm sorry. Say it one more time.
Sure. So in terms of using alternative options for supporting kidney disease, cancer, that sort of stuff, what have you found when you've applied that to other pets and and your own pets for that matter?
Oh, major differences. I mean, when you open up the toolbox in the holistic world, I always just kind of compare it to, you know, a regular person has those little gray toolboxes with, you know, a couple of wrenches and screwdrivers. And that's kind of traditional veterinary medicine. But then you go to an auto mechanic and they have those big red toolboxes with 27 drawers and 100, and that's kind of like holistic medicine. They just have more tools. So when you combine the two together, you just have so many more options. In chiropractic, acupuncture, acupressure, Reiki, energy work. There's just so many more tools and options. And you're just not limited to, yeah, here, give this dog a prescription food or this pill.
Right on. So you want the snap-on toolbox approach?
I want the big red toolbox.
That's it. That's the company that brings and the guys come. I mean, the inside of the delivery guys or the sales guys' trucks is really cool too. But you're right. I mean, that's exactly it. If we have 4 options to approach a condition versus one, that's a whole lot better because we have a much better chance of at least one of those options, if not more, working well for an individual pet. So have you, and I can't remember, I think you're doing Reiki work as well, are you not? Am I remembering that correctly?
Healing Touch for Animals, HTA.
That's it. That's right.
I got to level 4. I never proceeded past that, and I haven't really practiced it in a while, but everything is energy and intention.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Cool. So with your own dogs, what since you started taking the course, what are some of the things that have been useful in helping them feel better?
Oh gosh, so many. I mean, I started doing the home cooked, the crock pot diet since probably October. And poodles tended to be picky. They wanted their food one day, but not the next. I had this for breakfast. I don't want this again.
Yeah, exactly.
Now they are so excited. They literally dance and bark and sing for their food. They lick their plate clean. I mean, not a single spot left. So they absolutely love the food. And I like that I can make a variety. I can do 2 different batches and keep it in the fridge and alternate a beef and a pork. So they're not getting the same thing every day or every week. And
Right on.
supplements have just been amazing. And the Assisi Loop, I've used that on Muffin for her arthritis and for her kidney disease. And I can see a difference in her when I have forgotten to use it for a couple of days.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I mean, for those of you that are not familiar with Assisi Loops, it's a pulsed electromagnetic frequency device. And it's so cool because it's something you can do at home versus, taking an elderly dog or cat to the vet for acupuncture, laser therapy, that sort of stuff. It's a simple loop. You just put it right over the area that's problematic, push the button and you hang out. It's boom, you're good after 15 minutes, and it does seem to really make a big improvement. Right on. So and you've had a couple of folks you've been working with already to support them with food changes. And I know you mentioned earlier that you just made some simple changes in terms of water and veggies, but in terms of getting other people's pets on cooked food, have you been able to be successful with that and have the pet parents be consistent with it, or how's that been going?
Not yet. I have a couple of people who are interested, and I think they're just hesitant to move forward because it's going to be harder than it is. It's easier for them to just kind of cook up some ground beef or some ground turkey and toss that in the bowl for now, and that's fine. I think the hesitation is just, I got to prep all of these veggies and I got to cook it for a couple hours, and I have a big dog I got to do it every week. It's not as hard as it sounds.
Right. It's one of those things, like we tend to make things bigger in our minds than they actually are. But so when you get ready to cook a couple of batches for your dogs, how long does it take you to pull it all together and get it into the pot?
Yeah, not including cooking time. If I'm making a single batch, it takes about 45 minutes to an hour to cut everything up. Because I have small dogs, I have to cut them a little smaller. Takes a little longer. But yeah, I mean, I have to wash the fruits and veggies and then cut them and put everything in the bowl. Sometimes I cook it in the crock pot. Sometimes I do it on the stove in a pot. Just depends on my time. I notice when I make it in the crock pot and I cook it overnight, my dog Coco doesn't want to sleep in the bedroom because she smells it cooking all night and she's just staring out the bedroom door like, when are we going to go eat that?
Now.
Now. But on the stove, even on low, it cooks. I've had it cook anywhere from 3 to 5 hours. So it's pretty fast. And then I cook the rice or the grain separately. But yeah, I'd say prep time is an hour. And then I use an immersion blender when it's done, and then put them into containers. So maybe another 20 to 30 minutes to do that when it's complete. So not as much time as you think.
No, exactly. And I'm a lazy cook. So it takes me, I think I wash the veggies, I trim off the parts that can't be eaten, and chop it up into giant chunks and throw it in the pot. So I can get a batch for Hio made in about 10 minutes, after, all in. But
Awesome.
I'm a lazy cook, and then we just use the immersion blender afterwards. But I'm with you. The majority of time we're doing it on the stovetop, largely because we're in so many different houses, and that's the method that seems to work the most effectively. But yeah, I mean, that's it. Once you get into the swing of it, it's not that big of a deal. And especially if, for those folks that are working still and working outside the home, a lot of folks will cut on a batch of, like, they'll load up a pot in the morning, cut it up the evening before, throw it in there in the morning, and cut on the slow cooker as they're heading out the door for work. And then when they get home, there's a batch of food available. And especially for the guys, I mean, they have no compunction about just scooping some out for themselves. Yeah. So single guys, right on for being efficient with your time. but it's been super easy.
It smells so good when it's cooking. And really, I mean, if you look at what's in the pot, it's vegetables and meat. And I actually did a video on my Facebook page of me eating it. It was so good. It smelled amazing. I had to taste it. And it tasted just like a pot roast. And I said, the only thing I would have done different for me was a little more garlic and maybe some onion for me.
Right on.
But I actually had like 2 servings. It was really good.
That's it. Right on. So in terms of for senior pets, what are some supplements that you recommend or have used for your own guys and for other folks you're pet sitting for that have provided a lot of comfort and relief?
I'm trying to think of what I've got in covered. I'm trying to visualize everything. CBD probably would be the first and top one that I would choose. Mushrooms, mushroom powders or tinctures, and fish oil, a good quality fish oil. What else? A joint supplement for my senior girls. Right now I'm using one from 4-Leaf Rover, and it's got turmeric and green lip mussel. And I notice a difference in Muffin and Cocoa when I forget to put it in.
And that's exactly it. Sometimes we're not sure if things are working until we forget about them, and it's like, oh yeah, that really is working.
You're like, what's going on with you today? Oh wait, I forgot to give that to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole deal, right? Is anything we can do to control and reduce inflammation is going to reduce all the other symptomatology. So everything you mentioned is exactly it. So, and if you're not, for those of you watching, there's all sorts of products available on our site. And then the other thing is our friends over at CBD Dog Health have massively good products in terms of CBD and the mushroom tinctures there. So, and I'll drop a link here for you to check it out. Let's see if that should work. But I think that's just kind of standard issue. But we talk about, in the coaching calls all the time, that you can do all these supplements, but if you don't fix the diet, yeah, you can't outpill the bad diet. Yeah.
I love that thing.
Well, it's sadly true, but I mean, it's just crazy. I met somebody that was doing a ND naturopathy degree online, and she was all into all these supplements and herbs and that kind of stuff, but yet she was eating all this highly processed American food and had really missed that connection totally. And same thing with our pets, man. If we just feed them Beneful and basically the Doritos of pet food land, then we're going to continue to create inflammation. And even though we pour the best quality omega-3 fatty acids and all this other stuff in there, we just cannot get past that first inflammatory source.
You're climbing up a hill of
Wow.
quicksand.
Amen to that. Scrabbling all the way. Cool. So when you started in the course itself, I think you've been on the get things done as you can plan, but and it is what it is. So the course itself is a 16-week program, and then we offer another 30 days to complete the assignments. But can you talk a little bit about what you thought about the material and just trying to keep up with it and all of that good stuff?
The level of information that you give blows me away. When I'm trying to write notes and things and I'm listening to your videos, a 10-minute video will take me 30 minutes because I'll stop it and be like, what did she just say? And listen to it again, take my notes. And then I go another 3 minutes. I'm like, wait, what did she just say? And I write that down. So to absorb it and understand it, I have to keep playing it back and listen to it multiple times. And if you listen to the things you're saying and somebody, is in the background listening, they would think that you were taking a course to be a veterinarian. The words and how you explain how everything works together, and it just blows me away. It's so much information. And I love that I can always go back to the videos and the modules. It will always be there. So if I'm working with somebody with a dog that has kidney disease, and I thought, okay, it's BUN, FDMA, creatinine, and what else? I can go back to that lesson and I can find that information.
Right on, right on. And it's, the course itself is actually certified to give 40 hours of continuing education credit for veterinarians and vet techs. So, it is astonishing to me that you and so many other women that are going through the course, even with no background in medicine, you're just putting your heads down and getting through it. And I know it's tough. So and that's what I wanted in order to create this profession. Your knowledge base has to be so far above what would be expected of you, so that you have that ability to respond to questions, to understand how to come up with answers. Because as this person of saying, world of gravity resources, we got to fight the big corporations that are poisoning people and our pets. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I will be 60 in September. When I sold my practice, young veterinarians are not interested in buying a practice because they don't want to take on the responsibility and the debt. And so there you go. Who can I sell this to? And it's investment bankers that are rolling up the practices. It stinks because it is. What happened to the practice that I built was really heartbreaking to see. Mm-hmm. But I was at a point where I needed to retire. So I'm grateful I was able to sell this and at least have some part of it continue. But that's a big part of why I'm doing this program.
When the big corporations come in and take over these vet practices, so many things happen. One, they really push prescription foods and flea and tick meds and lots of vaccinations that, my little multi-poo sitting on my couch 23 hours a day doesn't need.
Yes.
And they just want to upsell, and they take 10 minutes with you in the room with your pet. If they give them a quick glance and put their hands on them, it's surprising. They just don't try to make a connection. They don't want to work with you in a partnership. It's just so impersonal.
It is. It's really, really hard. And, to your question, who can you trust anymore? Who has integrity? And you have to kind of feel it out piece by piece. But that's part of what I'm trying to build into this program is the knowledge base so that Rina and all of the other coaches can go out and start working with people. And then they've got me to work through sort of more difficult aspects of the case later on, because it's just so important. I think in veterinary medicine, that it's exactly what you say, but it's also that the corporations say, okay, you got 7 to 10 minutes in the exam room. And it is just not possible to do a decent job for these guys that have serious and chronic disease. So, yeah, right on. So, and Lisa's asking about, I'm sorry, go for it.
No.
We'll save that for a moment. Yeah, go for it.
I was just going to say that, the vet will tell you, oh, your dog has kidney disease, and you need to feed him this food, and, he maybe has 6 months. But they don't have time to go in and tell you all the details of that. What do they base that off of? What does it mean? What stage are they in? Excuse me. What do I need to look for as this progresses? And so that's just kind of thrown at the pet parent, and they are in shock. They don't hear half of what's even being said to them. And they walk out of the office with a bag of food and a sick dog, and now they think their dog's going to die in a week. So we as pet health coaches can come in and take that time with them. We can take 45 minutes or an hour with them and explain what that all means. Help calm them down and see the road that's ahead of them. So I always say we're kind of a liaison between the pets and the pet parents. And it's helping them communicate. What did the vet say? What does it really mean? And then putting it in terms the pet parent can understand. And then giving the pet parent education and tools they need to go back to their vet and make informed decisions, questions, information, and be the best advocate that they can be for their pet.
That's exactly it. And that's what Lisa's saying too. It's like, it's true. We leave the vet's office totally shocked and go straight to the internet because you don't have any information. And then you got to try and figure out what's right, what's not right, what's helpful, what's not helpful. And that's exactly it. So on the human side, health coaches are the ones that are doing the education about, okay, what lifestyle choices can we make differently so that we can improve our own health? We can apply those same principles to supporting pets. So that's exactly what health coaches do. And if you have the ability to talk with a holistic pet health coach, get the information about what this diagnosis means that your pet received, and get the list of questions you need to ask when you go back for that recheck exam with the vet, then you will get so much more out of your vet appointments. And the doctor will be able to give you more concise information because you're asking very targeted questions. And I think that's part of it. I mean, if we were looking at a veterinarian who's got 10 minutes to tell you, oh, your dog has stage 2 iris kidney disease and blah, 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 blah. It takes 10 minutes to explain all of that, and that's not going to happen. Maybe they're going to give you a printout, maybe they won't. So it's tough. Michael Daly, one of our mentors. Yeah.
Exactly. It empowers the parents when they have the knowledge and the information, and it takes some of the fear out of it, and it gives them a direction that they need to go. It just gives them a power.
Exactly, exactly. But Lisa was asking also about her baby that's got elongated soft palate, goose honk, all of that good stuff. So maybe collapsing trachea, maybe some other stuff. Um, so there is a lot of problems that can show up with the respiratory system. Because even though your dog is not brachycephalic with a smushed in face, it can still be, the fancy word is chondrodysplastic, meaning the cartilage doesn't grow properly. Well, the tracheal rings are cartilage, and so if they don't grow into this nice circular shape and maybe get something like that, then it's easy for that honking cough to crank up. And yes, Angela talked about using ease for Odie for collapsing trachea. I think that's been super helpful. The other thing is there is a mushroom tincture she created called Breathe, and that has been super helpful too. And then any other tips you've come up with to support this? Because if you've got two older poodles, you've probably dealt with some level of collapsing trachea between Coco and
Yeah, I had a Yorkie that had it.
yeah. Okay.
I found a recipe. I think it was in a support group for collapsing trachea, but it was a mixture of slippery elm and manuka honey, and
Cool.
it acts kind of as a cough medicine. It soothes the throat, and even my dog with congestive heart failure, of course they wanted him on the hydrocodone for the coughing, and then he's just spaced out all day. That slippery elm mixture reduced the coughing to almost nothing.
That is awesome. So that's cool because we'll use slippery elm as a demulcent in the GI tract. So that makes total sense. It'll kind of calm things down in the back of the throat. That's great. Cool. You're welcome, Lisa. Glad that's of help. But yeah, because I mean, I've dispensed hydrocodone too, and it's like if you really need it, that's great. But on a daily basis, I agree. These poor guys just turn into zombies. It's no fun for anybody. Yeah, right on. And then anything else you would want to say to folks? And again, folks, if you're watching and you've got some questions about your own pet, drop them in. But yeah, absolutely. You can use CBD products with mushroom tinctures without a problem, and with several other types of supplements. So for instance, if some of the collapsing trachea issue is partly due to allergies, you could even use quercetin or histopause to help control some of the allergic reaction. So our goal is to give you things that you can use safely in harmony with each other and not have any side effects or cross reactions. But yeah. So any other big trouble spots that you've seen for these older guys that you have to routinely tell your pet sitting clients? That's a massive question.
Yeah, I mean, food and nutrition is always first and foremost, but mental stimulation. Sometimes they've got some arthritis, and so they just hang out on the couch, and the pet parents think, hey, he's old, just let him sleep all day. But they need to move just like we do. If you don't move it, you're going to lose it.
Right on.
So even if it's a slow stroll for 5 minutes down to the corner and back, at least get the dog out and moving. If the dog really has mobility issues, there's strollers, there's carriers. Just the sense coming into their nose on a walk in a stroller, and people passing by and the sounds, and it just is stimulating, and it's going to keep that brain functioning.
Right on. Yeah, and that's like for Hayo, she broke her arm before she came to us, and so it didn't heal very well. So she can walk for a little bit, but she loves so much. We have a little pouch for her, and she loves so much just being in the pouch while we're walking. She's looking around, sniffing, all of that. But I think you're absolutely right. Mental stimulation is so important. And for us too. I mean, for people that go home, that retire, or go home at night and all they do is watch game shows and chill in front of the television, then their cognitive abilities diminish pretty quickly.
Yes.
So it's so important to keep our brains functioning, and these guys as well. And I think there's so many people that are starting to talk more about engaging behaviors and enrichment of the environment so that they stay active. But it is critical.
It is.
So, yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And, even in my 98-year-old mom, before she passed in 2020, her favorite thing was to sit in front of the TV and watch Western movies all day. And,
Wow.
Every day I had to, all right, we got to shut the TV off. And you're going to come to the table with me and play Go Fish. Or I got a coloring app for her, like a toddler coloring book, and let her color. I'd take her out for a ride in a car or go watch the sunset. Just get her up and out and make her use her brain.
Exactly. And it's so just the same thing with these guys. If they're sitting on a sofa in a room all day long, their cognitive abilities are going to go away much, much faster. So take these guys outside, let them.
I like to call them sniffaries.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, just let them out in the front, on a leash, and take a little stroll and let them sniff. They don't need to tug. It doesn't have to be a walk. They're exploring and experiencing, and all the scents that they're taking in are so stimulating that 5 or 10 minutes outside doing that could be like a 30-minute walk to some dogs.
Exactly. And so we joke, the first walk of the day is the scratch and sniff walk. And so literally it will take us 10 minutes to go half a block because she's digging and sniffing. And so but it's really critical because those are all normal dog behaviors. And if we don't let them do that, then they start to kind of move away from themselves, if you will.
Yeah. And I guess another one I see with a lot of the seniors, especially in the rescues, is CCD, canine cognitive dysfunction. And it's kind of like doggy Alzheimer's, doggy dementia. And a lot of people think that the dog has this, but it's actually that their hearing is gone or their vision is gone because the symptoms are very similar. But, the anxiety that can come with the CCD, it can be a lot for pet parents to handle. And it's expensive. That care is expensive. And, as we age, and we have our own ailments, it's hard for us to take care of a senior dog. Maybe we don't have the patience, we don't have the monetary means, we don't have the understanding. But the number of senior pets that are coming into rescues and at the shelters, astronomical. It just blows me away.
That makes sense. And
one of
nobody
my
ever
favorite
diagnosed
rescues in San Diego is a senior dog rescue.
Right on. So is that what you're seeing, is that they're coming into the shelters and the rescue groups because they're diagnosed with CCD or dementia, but really they've lost sensory perception. They can't see, they can't hear, and nobody figured that out.
Yeah, there's a multitude of why they come into shelters. It just astonishes me when a 20-year-old dog gets surrendered to the shelter. I'm just, I can't. That is your loyal pet. How can you surrender that animal who's lived with you all that time? But a lot of the times it's just monetary. They've got so many medical conditions and they can't afford the care or the medications. I think that there's nothing else they can do. So bringing it to the shelter is compassionate, but we don't realize what the fate of that dog really is.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's sort of, and it's tough because the rescue groups, the shelters don't have the resources as well. And so maybe, and this is sort of one of the things that was just driving me bananas my last few years in brick and mortar practice was instead of the client saying, listen, I can't afford this. This is what I can afford to spend on my dog every month. And the veterinarian saying, okay, let's figure this out. That never happens, or it rarely happens. And this is the thing, it's an economic reality. And Lisa, you're right, they're ill and they're heartbroken and they don't know what the heck's going on. So I think that's part of what veterinary medicine has really, one portion of where veterinary medicine has really failed. We're failing to understand that our clients have, have massive financial constraints in some situations. And we really have to adjust what we're recommending for these guys. And I think, again, this is where a pet health coach can help this person sort of work through, okay, well, here's what this long list of medications does. What can we do to drop your financial burden? And in many cases, if this person has been feeding a prescription bag of food that's $50 for a 12-pound bag, number one is home cooking is going to cut your pet food bill way down. And the cool thing is it may actually solve some of those problems.
Yes.
And Brian's asking if it's hard to be an advocate for the truth about nutrition for dogs. I mean, that's...
Yes. We've just been so conditioned, I guess is a good word, by veterinarians, by commercials, by the pet food companies, that this is dog food and that's what we should feed our dogs. And, when I worked at Dexter's, I always used to say, well, what's the difference between human food and dog food? And who decided that? And what do you eat for dinner? Do you eat Cheerios every night? Or do you have some beef with asparagus and some corn or whatever? And they were like, well, I never give up on people food. I thought, well, unless you're eating pizza and Doritos every night, why not? It's the pet food companies that have conditioned us to know, to believe that that is pet food. But I mean, just like us, they thrive in healthy, fresh, species appropriate foods. So a lot of people don't have the connection. They can be work out crazy, eat healthy, and then feed their dog a Roy. Or vice versa. They feed their dog this amazing $50 bag of dog food, and then they go home and have a frozen pizza. So they don't make the connection that it works both ways, and what works for us can work for them.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it really is crazy. And so Barbara's saying that as a fellow pet sitter, she can confirm that so many pet owners just have no understanding or won't consider good food for pets. It's just crazy. But I think you're right. I mean, and we can look at that from both extremes. So for instance, yes, the pet food industry has normalized this highly processed, balanced diet in every bite load of
Baloney.
stuff. Yeah, baloney. That's a great baloney, literally. But the truth is that the way we fed our dogs for so many years is the way that Bobby, the dog in Portugal that's 31, has been fed, eating all of the vegetables that the family is growing. It's not a massive amount of meat this guy is eating. There's never been this much animal protein available with such ease in the existence of, of humans and dogs. So I think that all of this is a big grievous error in marketing, and not looking at, okay, what were we eating in the 1700s? So sadly for my ancestors, who are Irish and German and a little bit of something else, probably English in there, they were eating bread made out of sawdust, lichen, and mud. I mean, it's just because they were starving. This is during the the potato famines, and so with the advent of agriculture, it's helped us stabilize food resources, but it's also created really franken foods along the way. So real food, real vegetables, lower inflammatory foods, that's going to be what restores health for both us and our pets.
And when I find resistance, when I'm starting to have a conversation about adding healthier, fresh things in, and I get well, this is dog food and it's complete and balanced, and he's been on it for years and he's doing fine. I was like, okay, well, he's itchy. He's got arthritis. I mean, he's not really doing fine. You may think he is, but we can have him do better. And so
but that's normal.
Right. And it's not. It doesn't have to be. So first thing I tell people to watch is Pet Fooled. And it was a documentary made, I don't know how many years ago now, but it's so educational and eye-opening. And it is about the pet food industry and what really happens and what it's really made from. And it's an eye-opening. And if you still want to feed that bag of food after you watch that, power to you. Otherwise, give me a call and we can make some changes.
Amen. So I was recording a couple of videos today, but this is part of one of the videos. So this is on Susan Thixton's site, The Truth About Pet Food. And finally, somebody has said that the label claim of complete and balanced nutrition for adult dogs is not true, because there is no way of assuring that there is a complete and balanced diet, because there are so many breed sizes and other factors, like maybe they can't actually eat the entire volume of food that they're supposed to get all of those nutrients without being morbidly obese. So this is the difficulty, is that this fallacy of complete and balanced in every bite is, what I got taught to say for years, and what you, the pet parent, have been hearing for at least 40 years now, since the advent of Hills coming in and teaching veterinarians nutrition, and then IAMS, and then finally Waltham and Royal Canin. But it's not true. And because pet food is balanced nutritionally, not on the basis of the body weight of the pet or the breed or any of that, but on the number of calories. So literally, it's balanced on 1,000 kilocalories. So if your dog is very sedentary or has a very slow metabolism, you can't feed the 2 cups of food that the bag of food says you must feed. And so therefore, your dog is undernourished.
And most of the pet food brands use synthetic vitamins. So, they've cooked it into this little brown piece of rock, and they've cooked all the nutrients out of it. So then they have to add them back in, and, with a spray, and it is usually a synthetic vitamin source. So then our body has to work on breaking that down, as opposed to eating and getting the nutrients from a carrot itself.
Yeah.
So,
and I think, and there's a lot of discussion about synthetic vitamins versus natural sources. And yes, synthetics are not as absorbable, but on the other hand, it's a way to get adequate nutrients into pets in a relatively cost-effective manner. So you have to choose the better forms and just be cautious with it. But you're right. I mean, and that's kind of the thing too, is that for you, the pet parent, how do you know which are the better forms without doing a ton of research? And that
And
is
the labels are so
difficult.
misleading.
Pet food labels are like, they hurt my head. It just is ridiculous. And I'm a veterinarian. I've studied nutrition on the human side. And then when I did the natural animal nutrition course 2 years ago, it's like, are you guys kidding me? This is absolutely unintelligible. And I mean, if I'm having difficulty understanding it, I cannot imagine what the pet parent is going through. I mean, you look at the labels, and it's like, what? Crude fat, crude protein, what?
It is like reading something in Russian or French. You're like, what is all of this stuff?
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. And I think that's part of it. I mean, yeah.
And the bag
and I think it's
is beautiful. You know, it's got nice
Yeah.
meat, it's got some apples and blueberries and carrots, but then you flip the bag over and you look and you're like, where is this carrot? Where is the carrot in the ingredients list? And, you know, if you see salt, anything after that is like 1% or less. And usually one of the last 2 or 3 ingredients you'll see is blueberries and carrots. So what are they getting? You know, a microscopic bit of carrot.
Exactly. So it's enough so that they can say there's something in there. But yeah, I mean, this is it. You know, Pedigree is like the best marketed brand of food, and it's basically like feeding your dog Doritos. It's just corn and chicken and other scary things. So yeah, Brian, take an Advil before you read the label. And that's the difficulty, is that if you go to the pet food manufacturer and ask for the guaranteed analysis, which is actually what tells you more about the pet food, it's like a whole nother bag of wax. But yeah, I mean, what's on the bag of food is generally minimal information. Cool. All right, we're coming to the end of our hour. Rina, any parting information you want to make sure that people know about working with a pet coach?
Just, if you have the opportunity to work with one, do it. We are advocates for you and your pet's health. We can be the liaison. We can educate you and help you to become empowered and make the best informed decision for your pets.
Right on. And I've dropped Rina's website here, and reach out to her. She's happy to start working with you to help you understand how to adjust your dog's diet, your cat's diet. I put my website here so that we will, after all these, we were talking about how much fun websites are, but at any rate, there is a page where you can reach out and contact the coaches so that you can start working with them. And exactly. Thank you, Lisa. Put your money in the holistic pet health coach and not the vet's pocket. And I think really it's a synergistic relationship. We need our vets to help us, especially in emergency situations. I think that they're way stressed, and that COVID made this a lot worse. But this way you can ask them more intelligent questions and start getting better information for your pets. And then lastly, if this is something that is remotely interesting to you, check this link out, drop us your information, and we will get you some more info on the program itself. And that's what we're here to do, is to help you understand other options. That's my goal, is to help get as many pets healed as we possibly can. So until next time, everybody take good care. Give your pets, your dogs and your kitties a big hug, and we'll see you soon.